This presentation is about the separation of Pakistan from India and how this shaped a suppressed national identity for Muslims in India into the proud one they have today in Pakistan. After India's colonization by the British Empire, Muslims saw a sharp decline in their political and social status. Britain seemingly preferred Hinduism, possibly due to their caste system which directly related to their own social system and therefore would be easier to control and manage. Muslims majority provinces and east-west borders of the subcontinent were impoverished away from the industrial centres of Bombay, Madras and central India. As such, fearing being politically underrepresented, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan founded the All India Muslim League in 1901. Sir Khan devised the two-nation theory, which was to be pro-British and wanted to inherit British values to shape Pakistan's future civil society. He believed that India was already a divided nation, and the contrast of religion values between Hindus and Muslims made having a national identity with India nigh on impossible as a Muslim if there was to still be a Hindu-dominated government. The nation was divided in two. There was not one singular national identity, and this caused conflict. As Muhammad Ali Jinnah said to the Muslim League in 1940, Hindus and Muslims belong to two different religions, philosophies, social customs and literatures. They neither intermarry nor interdine together, and indeed they belong to two different civilizations, which are based mainly on conflicting ideas and conceptions. Led by Mahatma Gandhi, through many peaceful protests and acts of extreme passiveness, India sought to achieve independence from British rule. Using satyagraha, a theory of his own devising, Gandhi aimed to lead the Indian people to a peaceful resolution with the British. It stressed the principles of truth, non-violence and tolerance. Both Muslims and Hindus alike, alongside the other minority religions such as Christianity and Buddhism, participated in these protests and often were met with violence, but rarely reacted with violence themselves. Simplifying it is as if they aimed to simply make the British see what they were doing was morally wrong. Gandhi believed that Muslims and Hindus, along with other religions in India, could live together in peace without having to separate. This led him to direct opposition with the new leader of the All India Muslim League, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who believed that the only way for peace was between the two religions was segregation. Gandhi emphasized a national identity that was not defined by religion. He was famously quoted when asked by an extremist Hindu group if he was in fact Hindu, "Yes, I am. I am also a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist and a Jew." He wanted people to identify themselves as Indian and embrace their old cultures and be accepting of other religions. This kind of thinking was also shown when he lived in South Africa, where he voraciously protested against the segregation of races. He did not want separation. But this was, however, not meant to be. Shortly after World War II had come to an end, India's independence was soon to follow, and the question again of leadership led Muslims to feel isolated and out of place in India. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was uneasy about the lack of Muslims in government and again called upon India to be partitioned so that Muslims felt as if they had a rightful place. He aimed to create a proposal that would result in independent dominions in direct relations with Great Britain. Jinnah succeeded in an election that defined him as the great leader or Qaid-e-Azam of the Indian Muslims, and then another vote was held in 1946 that gave his political party the overwhelming support of Indian Muslims. This vote was also considered the plebiscite of whether Indian Muslims were to vote on the creation of Pakistan, and now, where Jinnah and the All India Muslims had previously been dismissed as the representatives of Indian Muslim demands, they had to be accepted, and Jinnah became, in the British eyes, the sole representative of the Indian Muslim community. The ethno-linguistic nationalist narrative begins with a glorious pre-colonial state empire when the Muslims of South Asia were politically united and culturally, civilizationally and strategically dominant. In that era, ethno-linguistic differences were subsumed under a common vision of an Islamic-inspired social and political order. However, the divisions among Muslims that did exist were exploited by the British, who practiced divide and rule politics, displacing the Mughals and circumscribing other Islamic rulers. Moreover, the Hindus were the allies of the British, who used them to strike a balance with the Muslims. Many Hindus, a fundamentally insecure people, hated Muslims and would have oppressed them in a one man, one vote democratic India. The Pakistan freedom movement united these disparate pieces of the national puzzle, and Pakistan was the expression of the national will of India's liberated Muslims. This quote was taken from The Idea of Pakistan, written by an American Pakistan historian, Stephen Cohen. A separation began when the cabinet mission plan proposed by the British government was denied by India's leading Hindus despite the support of the Muslims. The northwest Muslim majority provinces of India were to be partitioned off, and sole government was to be given to Jinnah and the All Indian Muslim League. There was great violence in the moving of Hindus and Muslims. Some estimate the death toll ranged from 500,000 to 1,000,000 casualties. But the Muslims had got what they had wanted for years, their own independent state where they could forge a national identity where they not feel segregated and misrepresented. While originally it was planned to have religion separate from state, this has now changed, and being a Muslim is core to the identity of the people of Pakistan, with the country revolving around Islamic religious traditions. This is a stark contrast to modern day Britain and Christianity. I spoke to my wife and mother-in-law, both from Pakistan, and they believe their national identity to revolve around traditional Muslim views such as charity, respect and culture. They also believe that without Pakistan's formation, they would not be able to uphold these traditions, and overall are very proud of their nation and their national identity.